What's up, Squadron? Aviation has given me a ton of amazing experiences. And more importantly, it's introduced me to a whole new family of friends. Join us tonight because we're cleared direct for some hangar flying. I'm Ryan Dembroski, and this is SuperAero Live. What is up, AvGeek friends, SuperAero Squadron friends? Just so excited that the intro worked again, because it never works. So anyway, dudes, there are so many of you in the chat already. I'm so excited to have you Wednesday night here with me. Super awesome guest who we're going to get into in a minute. This whole show is her fault. It's her fault. Why we're here, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. I just want to say hi to a couple of people in the chat. Waukesha Pilot, you were first. Welcome to the chat. Zach Sherman, brother, good to see you. Hope your training's going well. Who else is in here? Marty, our good friend Marty for the show is here. Brad's here. Hey, Brad, good to see you, buddy. Waukesha Pilot, did I say that already? Maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of you. Sarah Clucky from Appleton. Sarah, are you finding a place to train? We chatted on Instagram a little bit about finding a place for her to train and get her pilot certificate. So Sarah, I hope you're having good luck with that. Just Plain Silly says he can't watch. He's at a thing, but hello. You're sorry, dude. I think I'm going to be on his show soon. We're going to do a live show on his channel soon, so be sure to check that out, because when the two of us get in a room, it's mayhem. Anyway, dude, I love all the chat in here. Noah Goldstein is here. I think Noah is a fan of our guest tonight. Noah, good to see you, buddy. Tim Meyer. Man, I could just read names all day. There's so many people here. Ryan Krueger from Patreon. Hey, Ryan. Timmerman Pilot's here. Bob Smith is here. I could literally... Oh, Marty's saying it's starting. Yep, I'm reading. Gabriel, I don't know if I've seen you in the chat before. Welcome to the thing. Cool Draw. Hey, from Hong Kong. Holy moly! That is rad. Cool Draw from Hong Kong. That is super dope. You guys are probably tired of me. Oh, Wolficorn's here. Check out Wolficorn on this show next week. I'm just scrolling and scrolling. Sarah McCalvy's here. So many awesome people. I could keep reading names. I have for the last, 5 minutes. But anyway, great to have you. Let's get this show on the road. Be sure to check out, guys, if you like this show. Do the subscribe, do all that jazz. And if you like what you see tonight, if you've never been here before, check out last week. Josh Flowers from Aviation 101 was on. And next week we got Wolficorn, like we mentioned, which is really cool. So, okay, Annie has been super patient, listening to me read people's names. And I would just like to introduce, hey, everybody, look, it's Pilot Annie.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for taking time out of your evening to come and chat with me and Ryan.
It's going to be so fun. Annie was texting me before 2 hours before.
Did it just cut out?
No. Are you here? You good? You still here?
Yes.
Okay.
You know what's funny? I just started to hear thunder in the back. So fingers crossed, I will not need to use the candle that I have. Look, check out this beautiful candle. I don't know if they can see it. Yeah. So we've been having crazy storms here, so I'm hoping I don't lose power.
Yeah, so you lost power for a little bit before this, and you Instagram messaged me, and you're like, so this is a thing that happened, and I mean, what are we going to do? We can't change Mother Nature. That's actually how it was for us. I think you're probably having the same storm system that hit us down here yesterday. It's kind of wicked. I think it's that tropical depression, maybe? Is that what they're saying up there?
You know what? I didn't hear anything about tropical depression. But just possible tornado warning.
Oh, no big deal.
A few other things happening.
If you hear a freight train, you can leave. We'll just keep chatting. Gabriel says it's gnarly in Canada right now, weather-wise. So yeah, man.
Yeah, it's funny. My partner, he just left the airport, and I guess the porta potty that was out front got tipped over by the wind.
So it's like the real deal tonight.
Yeah, and one of the trees out front of our property actually came down already. So yeah, it's pretty,
that's way more gnarly. Way more gnarly. Okay, all right. So we have so much to talk about tonight. But first, I just wanted to. I've been teasing all week like that. This show is your fault, and so I'm gonna just explain that to everybody, and then we can actually talk about you instead of talking about me. So you, maybe like a year ago, you sent me this super nice Instagram DM. You're like, "Hey, I love your videos. I think you're the James Corden of aviation." And at first, I was slightly offended because I was like, "Oh, do I look like he's a little bit bigger than me?" I love you, James. But then I was really super flattered because I think he's amazing. So that was really awesome. It was in my head. Like, if you guys know, like, making content like this, and Annie can probably speak to this too, like, it's kind of a slog sometimes. It doesn't just, like, take off right away. You don't get an audience right away. And so helped me feel good that week. I really appreciated you saying that. And then now, during the pandemic, I was like, wait a minute. Pilot Annie said, I'm the James Corden of aviation. I got to make this a real thing. We got to do this show. So it's literally all your fault because you planted the seed in my big dumb brain.
No, I love it. I'm so excited that you're doing this. And like I obviously told you before in a message, I love your videos, and like they're informative, but also so like lighthearted and funny, and I love that.
I'm just gonna blush a ton. Thank you for saying that. Let's talk about you. Okay, so you have such a cool pilot story, and where I thought we could start for people who maybe don't know you, is just like could you take us to? I've been asking guests on this show to talk about like their pilot origin story. Like, take me back, like, day one. How does it start?
Yeah, so I don't actually remember the moment that I was like, I want to become a pilot, at least not when I was younger. My family traveled a lot because we had family in Europe, so I got to spend a lot more time at an airport and on airplanes than maybe the average child. And I really always loved traveling, and we'd always go to, different places, and that was really exciting. And I remember in high school trying to figure out what I wanted to do next with like my career. And I had a meeting with my guidance counselor where I expressed that I was interested in pursuing aviation. However, with my grades not being up to par, my guidance counselor recommended I consider another path. And at that point, I just basically believed her, and I thought that it was maybe not the best fit because I actually was missing some science credits. All the courses that were probably important, I either had mid 70s at when I should have had higher marks. And that becomes really important, especially when you're applying for a career college, at least in my province, because it's quite competitive. And so I kind of put it on the back burner for many years. And I went to university and completed a Bachelor of Arts in majoring in English and history. And then I went back to school for a business diploma at a college in Toronto. And I still didn't know what I wanted to do. So I decided to moved to New Zealand, where I lived for a little over a year. And after that, I moved to Australia, just kind of decided I didn't want to come home. And I really enjoyed myself for that time. And it was in Australia, actually, that I just started thinking about aviation again. I was starting to think about possibly moving back to Canada, and I didn't really know what was going to be the right fit for me. And I lived in this really cool town called Coral Bay, which is in West Australia. And it's like a 13-hour drive north of Perth. And the population there is 600 people. And the thing that makes this town so special is that it's right on the Ningaloo Reef, which is one of the most ecologically diverse reefs in the world. And they have whale sharks that come through, and resident manta rays, and shark sanctuaries. And it's really, really cool. And what happens is many tourists come in to go snorkeling alongside these, creatures of the deep. So there's spotter planes that take off every morning, and they would contact the boats in the harbor and let them know where they needed to go so that the tourists would be able to, see humpback whales and all that. So it was right by my house, this little dirt strip in the outback. And every morning I would see them take off. And it was then that I was like, okay, this looks really cool. This is something I want to pursue. And I still actually, when I was in Australia, I started contacting colleges back in Canada, asking, just general questions and looking into enrollment. And for the most part, most of the administrators that I was talking to recommended that instead of going the college route, I pursue a license privately. Sure. I was already 24. I was 24 at the time. And so I would have to go and complete a whole bunch of high school credits and then apply to university, and then also have to write an entrance exam. So by the time I had completed all of that, they just thought it was more worth my time to go straight to the source and just do it privately. So sure. I started researching flight schools. And then when I got home, I did a discovery flight, and I enjoyed it so much. I basically signed up right away, took out a big greasy loan from the bank, and the rest is kind of history.
The big greasy loan.
Yeah.
I think we can hear it's raining super hard there. Is it raining super hard?
Yeah, it is.
That is so epic.
Is it really distracting?
No. No, it's fine. I just thought I was like, oh, it's like really raining. It's like, yeah. I think it's raining here too. And my wife, guys, she's got the kids are screaming again tonight. So she's like rocking the baby again. So we're going to make it. We're all going to make it. So I just think that's such a cool story. Like, starting with like this like world travel and like just experiencing one of the really amazing parts of aviation, like literally over your head. I was, every time you've been kind of making the podcast circuit right now, and I've heard that story told, and I was like, that is really epic. Like, in the chat, by the way, a couple people said we got to do airpool karaoke, and we've talked about that.
Yeah.
We should do it. We should definitely do it. And then a lot of folks are asking, they want to know where you got your shirt. The North American shirt is rad, says Nick.
Cheers. Thanks. Yeah, I got it from a Canadian brand actually called Red Canoe. And they have the licenses to make shirts for a bunch of different brands like Cessna and Piper. And yeah,
okay.
So check them out.
I'll go spend some money there. Hashtag not a sponsor. Zach Sherman says, whoa, spotter pilot sounds like a really super fun job.
Yeah. You know what? I'll have to throw up the link of the pilot that actually does that job still. I'm pretty sure it's the same guy. His name is Paul, and I think it's called Ningaloo Pilot or something on Instagram. And he still is flying there to this day. And I wrote him a message once being like, hey, I just want you to know that like I saw you flying every day and was so inspired by you that I decided to become a pilot, and I never heard back from him.
Oh, really? You never responded?
No.
Well, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna send me the thing. I'll put it in the comments after this goes live tomorrow, and then we're all gonna DM that guy and be like, "Hey, you inspired somebody. You gotta acknowledge this message." Phil McGowan says your interview with Chris Palmer was great. I agree.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
you. Yeah, I've got a lot of free time on my hands right now, so I've been chatting to a lot of people, and I think it's been so cool to to be able to be so connected to the aviation community and meet so many incredible people, and it's just so great to connect with people from around the world. I'm really enjoying it.
So, what you guys should do is probably just stop watching this right now and just go listen to that podcast.
No,
it's so much better. No, so okay, so here's the thing. So like you decided you had that epic journey, decided to become a pilot based on some of these experiences, these global experiences. You come back to Canada, and separately, you're also creating all this content. And I always felt like your your Instagram account in particular is just like, it's almost like we have this joke in the film industry about like calling central casting, right? Like someone straight out of central casting. You've got like the hip group of like young pilot thing out of central casting. Like it's like it's like you and your friends like adventuring around Canada, like doing epic stuff. Like if you guys haven't checked it out, you should go check out Annie's Instagram account. It's super epic. And we're going to show some pictures of that in a little bit. But I think, you know, what I wanted to ask you about was, so you're going on this journey, right, to become a pilot. And then you start, like, posting content about that journey. Like, was that something that how did you decide to start doing that? Because I think it's interesting to talk about, like, becoming a pilot is hard enough as it is, but then to capture it and share it is like this extra layer of effort on top of that.
Yeah, definitely. I've always had a passion for photography. In high school, I was lucky enough to have a school that had like a dark room and one of the most like advanced photography labs in the province. And I took photography for 4 years in high school and then actually thought I wanted to do it professionally. But pass on that idea. And when I moved to New Zealand at first, I wanted a way to be able to connect to my family and friends and let them know what I was up to. And so I created a website then, and it was called theworldofannie.com. And
I love it.
And I would just post different stories from different places I'd traveled to, different jobs I was, picking up to sustain, my travel. And it was more of like a blog than an actual like pretty website, but it was super fun. And it's really hard to keep up with, as I'm sure you know. It's a lot of work to, take pictures, make them all pretty and then post a story along to go with them. So eventually I don't know, I guess I slowly, fell off the blogging bandwagon. And when I moved back home and I started flying, I started taking videos when I was like up with my instructor or, doing different things. And it just kind of like, that desire to want to share this story just, started all over again. So it's something I've always been interested in. I've always loved writing, being an English major, and also for a long time, I wanted to be a journalist. So I feel like this Instagram has allowed me to combine all my passions because I love photography and videography. I love writing. And that's actually allowed me to, meet people who have allowed me these opportunities to write for different magazines and publications. So it's been really cool to not only, be a pilot, but also share the adventures and promote general aviation, especially to younger people through this medium. So that's how I've always loved to do it anyway.
So you brought up a good point. Like I did not do a good job of like explaining your resume at the top. Like you're aviation writer, you're doing all this amazing content. You had like an epic trip recently. We're going to talk about it in a few minutes. Like you just like you're like living the dream aviation style. So I just think it's super cool. A couple people reacting to what you just said. Well, not quite. Oh, they're saying YouTube live showdown. That's funny. And separately, Vincent Carbonara, Marty in the chat pointed out Vincent Carbonara has his check ride coming up like next week. Ooh. So Vincent, good luck with that. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll nail it. Steph Strickland's in the chat now. She says, I'm late. Hi. Hey, Steph. Good to see you.
Hey, Steph.
And Waukesha Pilot says, Annie has a new sub. Me. So right there, doing this show is worth it.
Sorry, I actually can't see that. What did she say? They like kind of cut out.
He says Annie has a new sub, like a new subscriber. Waukesha Pilot just subscribed to him, so it's like totally worth it. Doing this show, you got a subscriber.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then Phil McGowan says Flight Shops is posting about the storm too. Canadians are entering the Thunderdome. I don't know. I just think that's funny. We could hear some thunder in the background. It's like really happening. So anyway, okay. So talk to me a little bit about. We're gonna show some pictures here. I'm gonna throw some pictures up because I think, and some of this stuff is just the stuff that we were talking about. And let me get you. I gotta move my camera around. Super professional. There you are. Okay, so it's like you twice.
Awesome.
So is this you during your tailwheel training?
Yeah, exactly. So one thing that I definitely wanted to mention is that a lot of the experiences that I've been able to have would not have been possible if it weren't for like mentors that took me under their wing, or different organizations that put together incredible scholarships and expeditions and different things like that. So at the end of last year, I was able to go down to Texas and complete my tailwheel endorsement, all through an organization called Ladies Love Tailwheel, or Tail Draggers. And this organization was started by a woman named Judy Birchler, who was really passionate about flying, and then in particular tailwheel aircraft, and wanted more women to get involved with flying them. So every year she donates about 12 scholarships. And it's not just her personally, it's all through donation, and CFIs will donate their aircraft and their time to get these women proficient in flying. So it was a really cool experience, and yeah, I'm so excited to finally have that checked off the list, and I can't wait to fly more tailwheel.
It's literally, I mean, it is the best. Like I did my training in J3 Cubs. This looks like a champ, right?
Yes.
I'm just like trying to flex my. This is not a champ. This is you. Is this you? What's going on in this picture?
Yeah. So I went to the High Sierra fly-in.
Okay.
Also a long time in Texas, and it was really cool because a lot of times with these fly-ins, you don't necessarily have the opportunity to fly your own aircraft to them, and you kind of feel like a bit of a loser at first, but you meet these really great people who are so excited and just stoked that you're as excited as they are about, the event you're at. And so I met this gentleman at the fly-in, and he had a Cherokee. I'm trying to remember which model, but he invited me to go flying one morning with him, and we just like threw back our coffees, jumped in the plane, and flew around the High Sierras. And the coolest part of that was just at one point there were probably like 12 Mustang horses galloping underneath the aircraft. And it was the most wild
That's
thing.
Not real. That's not real.
No,
That's not a real thing that happened to you. It was kind of like something out of a Trent Palmer video for sure. So I just realized I got these photos out of order here because I didn't know what they were. I was just putting them together. So here's we'll skip around. This is the champ you did your tailwheel in, which is like
that's like, her.
Like I like the little blue stripe.
Yeah.
Would you recommend people get their tailwheel as when would you say you should do it? Right away or never?
As soon as possible, as soon as an opportunity presents itself, because I don't know what it's like in Wisconsin, but I can only speak for where I'm from. It's actually really difficult to accrue tailwheel time. Most flight schools don't have tailwheel aircraft to rent, and when they do, they generally require 20 hours before they let you go solo. And then a lot of people, I guess there's a stigma around it. And so a lot of people are a little bit weary about letting new pilots or anyone with, that hasn't flown them before, rent their aircraft or buy block time for them. So sure. If you have an opportunity to fly tailwheel, even if you're just learning to fly, or if you've been flying your whole life, just jump on it, whether it's, a flight school or somebody at your airport that has one.
Yeah, Single Coil just said in the chat, first Cub ride was this weekend. Tailwheel just moved to the top of the list.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I agree. I think and separately, like Noah says, no tail wheel, no soul. I think that's a little aggressive, buddy.
A
But
little bit, yeah.
but I do. I mean, I think what part of what is resonating with him there is that you know, a lot of tailwheel aircraft are older. I guess my glasses are steaming up. A lot of tailwheel aircraft are older aircraft, and so you know, you get into an old Champ or you get into an old Cub. Like for me, it's like it's gonna sound weird, but it's like the way it smells. It's the way it like is kind of like creaky. You know, like doing your training in a plane. I don't know what year that Champ was. Like the Cubs I was training are like 1940s. It's like they're as old as my dad. Right?
Yeah.
Like just like these super, it's like there's history, there's some sense. I think that's probably what Noah's talking about. I don't want to start a crazy tail dragger, nose dragger war tonight. We can save that for another time. But anyway, so okay, so then the other thing I wanted to talk about, so you were talking about High Sierra, and I think this is where, when I was saying like adventures out of central casting for like hip cool pilots, like for those of you listening to this and not seeing it, you know, we've got some awesome, looks like you've got like the who's who of lady aviation influencers there, like in the middle of the desert during like a dust storm or something.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly, but we just loved every second of it. So we were just roaming around with our masks.
It was training for now.
Yeah, exactly.
Too soon? Too soon? Yeah, Steph says it's like Burning Man for pilots. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, heck yeah.
I haven't made it there, and actually you and I talked about me coming. Everyone's making fun of me about my glasses fogging up in the chat. Foggles, yes, watch about. That's exactly what's happening. We're gonna take this stream IFR in a minute. So this is like just to give people a sense of like what this fly-in's like and the adventure. Like we don't need to make this a commercial for the High Sierra fly-in, but like you've got, I think that's Nat Esser, right? Do I know my airplanes right?
Yeah,
I don't know
I
don't know if that's making me a big nerd or what, but doing like the stole drags.
Yeah, no, it was really cool to watch. And I mean, like you said, it's certainly not a promotion just for High Sierra fly-in. I think fly-ins are such an incredible way for you to make connections and meet new friends from all over the world. And it's really cool because I mean, for this particular fly-in, most of these people go every single year, and it's probably the one time of the year that they get to see a lot of these friends of theirs, similar to any air show, really, whether it's Oshkosh or Sun and Fun. But yeah, no, this particular fly-in, obviously, it was pretty special because it's a little bit smaller than you know, a lot of the other fly-ins that I've been to, and it just has like that, you know, cozy backcountry feel to it. And this is Nick Thiessen. He's a Canadian, and he actually just built a Kit Fox in 8 months. So he's a rock star. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, you should definitely follow along with him. His handle is STI Flyer 7, I think. But if you look up STI Flyer, you'll find him. He's cool shit.
I love it. I mean, and then separately, there's like the flying you did, like that's that like, so I don't know. I mean, I sort of know from your account what it's like where you fly out of mostly, but like where I fly out of does not look like this. So folks listening, looks like you're in some sort of high wing, maybe a Cessna, and like over like a epic lake with crazy mountainy, I don't even know what the geographical term or geology term is for that, but super dope stuff happening out the window.
Yeah, I was really lucky. This is actually in John Kotwitzki's Bearhawk, and he was gracious enough. Yeah, he was gracious enough to take me for a flight. Like I said before, we rented an RV out of Reno, and a few girlfriends of mine, we all rocked up at the airport and just jumped in this RV and drove into High Sierra. And so we actually didn't have like an aircraft there, but we were so lucky that so many people like just jumped at the opportunity to, you know, take us up. So I was super super grateful to John for taking me up and showing me Pyramid Lake. So they have these crazy rock structures and what do you call them? Manholes or geysers? Geysers. That's it.
Okay.
But like they like shoot water because of all like the sulfur and the hot springs under the earth. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. And like, looks like there's some formation flying that you guys did, and like and like that photo right there. Again, bad radio if you're only listening, but like just this epic cloud formation coming in over the mountains. Like you don't get that here in the Midwest. You get a different kind of flying, a different kind of beauty. It's such an epic trip.
It was really educational for me because I've never really flown at that high of an altitude before. I mean, I think generally most airports around here, the highest you'll get is like 1,000 feet above sea level. So it was really cool to be there. And with the actual, I don't know if they're classed as mountains or the hillsides of the High Sierra, they actually create a lot of like mountain waves. So you have to be particularly careful when going through and flying through. So it was a pretty eye-opening experience, and especially like the dry conditions and all the like lenticular clouds coming up from the top of the mountains. It was pretty incredible because I've never really had an experience like that where I live.
I feel like you gotta like the thing, and someone in the chat was talking about like, oh, like I'm a little nervous about tailwheel because the possibility of like ground looping. I don't feel that way about tailwheel because I have the experience. I feel that way about this. Like I feel that way about like heading west, like mountains, high density altitude, just like lenticular clouds, right? Like all that stuff totally changes the ball game instead of like flying over cornfields all the time. So that's the thing for me. It's interesting to see like, or what I'm. Uh-oh. You're frozen. Oh, you're not frozen. You're just sitting very still? No, she's frozen. The thunderstorm strikes again. Okay, we're going to see what happens here. While we wait for her connection to restabilize. Yes, Steph's like, ha, ha, ha. I thought she was just like sitting very here. Like, let's. And I'm still fogging up. I don't know. I'm tired today. Like that? How'd I do? Okay, anyway. Yeah, Flatlander. Yeah, Wolf of Corn. Oh, she's coming back. Maybe? Something's happening. All right, this is live, everyone. Anything can happen, especially when Canada's in the Thunderdome. Gonna read some chats while Annie's connection gets sorted out.
I don't know. I'm here.
Oh, you're moving around. I can hear you now. A little bit. Here, let's let it stabilize a little bit. Let's let it stabilize a little bit. So, if you can hear me, I was just, you were frozen kind of like this. And so we were just kind of doing that together, I guess.
What's happening? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're not moving. This is what everybody's work life is like now. Is this moment that's happening right now. Can you hear me? Jim, you're on mute. We'll have to see how it resolves.
I'm here.
I can hear you.
You can? You can? That sucks, man.
We can hear you, but you're frozen. I don't know if you can see. You're kind of frozen. Kind of frozen on the screen, and I'm still fogging up. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I can hear you. No, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Brian?
I can hear you.
Man, now what a bummer. Back here. Let me try and.
Here, let's do this, Annie. I'm gonna disconnect the Skype. I'm gonna disconnect the Skype call, and I'll just call you back. This is what we should have done in the start. All right.
This is a good time to roll another picture.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the pictures. I'm gonna show some people some cool pictures, and then I'm gonna reconnect this. While you guys in the chat, how's that instrument rating? Looks frozen, half frozen. We can ask me questions. Yeah, hit me up, Steph. Hit me up. Hit me up with some questions. I'm going to reconnect this Skype thing. Which means I can't actually see your questions. Okay. I just hung up on Pilot Annie. That's got to comfort. That's got to be something. Zach's enjoying the slideshow. Everyone tee up some questions for SuperAero to buy some time. Thanks, Steph. You can tell that Steph is a seasoned broadcaster because she's jumping in to help me with this. So, favorite airplane that I don't fly. What would that be? You mean like one that I wish I could fly? Warbirds, I always really liked the P-38. And I don't know if that's because I'm from Wisconsin and one of the aces was a P-38 pilot. Richard Bong was a Wisconsin World War II ace who's P-38. So I don't know. Never going to get to fly one of those, though, because there are only like 8 of them that exist. I would love to separately fly more of like a bush plane thing. That's something that I really want to do. But that's kind of the new hotness right now. So I don't know. One of the things I wanted to talk to Annie about was I think she did Annie's not online. We really got to go. Okay. We're going to check with her. I'm going to say, let me know when you're back. How's the engine coming? So let's talk about that for a minute. Let me make sure you guys can see me. And let's talk about a couple things. Okay, cool. So Annie had this awesome trip she took. The next thing we're going to talk about was this awesome trip that she took all over northern Canada. And she did it, I think, in a Pipistrel, but I wanted to ask her about it. Those airplanes really intrigue me because they are super efficient and super fast, even though they're like LSA. If you look at them, they've won like NASA efficiency. So on the one hand, it's like, I want to fly a P-38. Gas! On the other side, I want to do... like that hyper efficiency really appeals to me, especially from a budgetary standpoint. Let's see what else is in here. Ever been to Canada, SuperAero? The closest I got was the Boundary Waters up in northern Minnesota, kind of like paddling and canoe paddling. It's beautiful up there. Would love to go up there. Have a couple invites from some folks to come fly up there, and I definitely want to check that out. Engine work. So yeah, if you've watched on Instagram, Gary Smith's asking about the engine work on our plane. There hasn't been a lot of new content on SuperAero coming out because 4 Uniform Victor, the plane that I just bought into this year, needed an overhaul. So I've got a couple things in the can I'm working on, trying to get them kind of scheduled out. But the engine needed an overhaul, and as of right now, it's still on schedule to be completed in end of June. There were some COVID-related delays to the cylinders coming back, but so far it sounds like everything's going. That I get a picture of it with the like front hanging off of it every once in a while from them. Okay, let's see what else here. Zach Sherman says, based on Steph's most recent question, the most boring essential thing to learn as a student pilot. I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that, because I guess if you've gone through it, you're qualified to answer that. I think the most boring but essential thing. So on a couple of my videos, I joke about pilot math, and I'll be like, I'm really, like, math is like I'll be totally straight with you guys. I am not good at math. And I think she's still trying to reconnect. Let's try again. Math is really not my strong suit. So all that like mental math that you need to do as a pilot in terms of like descent rates or just like basic ballparky math to know where you're at in the sky or navigating, that stuff's really a struggle for me, especially when I'm rusty flying because I've got the high workload. So I think like just basic, I mean, it's basic arithmetic stuff, right? But like that stuff, getting like polished up on like your mental math feels like a thing that's helpful for some people if you're not strong there. Things like the E6B, right? Like now I do that all on an iPhone, but like it's good to... Oh! Anna's calling back in. Here we go. Hey!
Hello?
Okay, I think it worked. But
Oh man, sorry about that.
no, don't worry about it. Let me get you. Let me get you on here. Come on, computer. Hey, there she is, everybody. Round of applause for Annie working
I'm
out.
so sorry, guys.
No, that's no problem. You're in the middle of the Thunderdome. I'm going to answer a couple. We were vamping and it became SuperAero talk time. So I'm going to just answer a couple quick questions. Phil McGowan,
Yeah.
my day job is I'm a TV commercial producer. Uh, Marty, Zach, just listen to Marty. He's way smarter than I am. Weather is boring, but I think it's exciting because it can kill you. What scares me the most in private flying, Gabriel, the thing that scares me the most when I fly, and Annie, you should answer this too. For me, it's when I get out of currency. Like right now, I haven't flown in months because of the plane being down and COVID. And so it's that like getting back on the horse. That's the part that freaks me out a little bit. What about you?
Flying Nordo.
But you did all that time in the champ, so you should be fine, Nordo.
Oh, we had a radio in there actually. We were lucky.
Nah, the Cubs were the same. We had a little like radio on there that, like just a handheld radio that we like suction to the window or whatever.
Yeah.
Waukesha pilot, your new tail number. It's 4 Uniform Victor. We call it Uncle Victor. I don't know if I want to give you the whole. You can figure it out in a video. I don't want to give it to you straight up because then you're gonna stalk me. Okay, let's get back to Annie because. Phil's also in entertainment. Yeah, dude, let's chat some time about making TV commercials about things we don't care about. That's a true artist. All right, so let's talk about and we maybe will go a little bit longer because we had to get reconnected. But I just want to show, like, I was telling people, you did this awesome trip. That's still High Sierra. This trip, right? This trip
Yeah.
here. So you had this epic trip through northern Canada, right?
Yeah.
Can you
So
tell me a little bit about that?
yeah, for sure. So kind of like I was alluding to before, a lot of the flying I've done was, was because there were these amazing opportunities presented by organizations that want to get young female pilots involved. And so this charity called Hope Air organized an expedition that would fly from British Columbia through the Northwest Territories into the Yukon and into Alaska. And it was all to fundraise for Canadians who need assistance going to their medical appointments. And it's for Canadians that live in rural communities. So they were able to fundraise $250,000. And
What?
somebody anonymously donated $50,000 so that 2 women could join this expedition. And they had this award. So you had to submit a video and tell them about, your story, how you give back to the community, and why this organization is important to you. And it's one that actually means quite a lot to me because my father was diagnosed with ALS 7 years ago. And even living in a metropolitan city, it's hard, to get appointments, and we'd have to travel all over the world to see specialists. And so I really feel for people living in rural communities, kind of like this, an Old Crow, where, they're medical professionals aren't easily accessible. So I was fortunate enough to be selected to take part in this. And it was the coolest experience because it was flying that I never had the opportunity to do. And I'm really looking forward to doing again someday. But it was, I'd never flown somewhere where I had to really consider, survival equipment and, dealing with the elements. And it was incredibly beautiful, and there was nobody around, and it was just these vast mountainous landscapes and beautiful rivers and waterfalls, and I just fell in love with it so quickly. So Once I got to go on that expedition, afterwards I had started to consider doing a commercial license, and then a little later on, due to just various personal, reasons, I decided to pursue my flight training full time. And so I'm on my way steadily to complete my commercial and then my instructor's rating shortly after, as long as COVID lets me. So we'll see.
So, and I want to, that's one of the big things I wanted to talk to you about tonight. But just before we move on, while you were reconnecting, one of the things I asked about, or I was wondering about, was this in a Pipistrel?
Yeah, it was. It was in a Pipistrel, which is really cool because they're like light sport aircraft. It's a Rotax engine, and their glide ratio is insane. It's basically a glider. So they have a 17-to-1 glide ratio, and I don't think I've ever felt so safe in an aircraft before, actually, if I'm 100% honest. But yeah, so one of the gentlemen that was taking part in this expedition had volunteered his time in his airplane. Had this really cool Pipistrel virus, so I got to learn a bit about it, and it's pretty techy. They've got a whole Dynon system in there, and it was pretty awesome.
I wonder if they'll think about renaming that after renaming that aircraft after this. No, but while you were reconnecting the thing, people said like, what favorite plane? I think Steph asked like, what's the favorite plane that you don't fly? And I was saying I'm equally interested in, I'd love, everyone has like a warbird they'd love to fly or something, but the Pipistrels really intrigued me because of the efficiency is just insane. So like that glide ratio you were talking about, it just like totally crazy, like totally blows my mind. So let's talk about flight instructor. Let's talk about flight instructor time. So you're working on your commercial right now. You're going to... Is flight instructor the end goal for you? Because is that the career, or are you like airlines? Or are you bush pilot, or where are you taking it?
No, I've never had a draw to the airlines. I just like booting around in small airplanes, but I think there's a lot of value in becoming an instructor for a number of reasons. Aside from it being a great way to gain experience, it's also a great way to give back to the community. And I'm very much a people person. I love, sharing my passion with other people. And I think that aside from, sharing my experience, I think I would do a great job of just ushering in this next generation into, the left seat. So I don't want to say that it's, the ultimate goal. But I can definitely see myself doing that for at least a few years, if not more. I would love to, be a career instructor for a time, while also in amidst working towards that, also, pursuing my own adventures with my own aircraft. So that's kind of the dream right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think separately, like the best instructors are the people who are in it to teach, or in it for the right reason, instead of just time building. And we've talked about that on this show a little bit with Zach and some other folks that are in the chat, like looking for. Sorry, I looked over at the chat when I said that, and now they're talking about wearing diapers or so. I don't know what's happening. Just Plain Silly's back, and he's just being just plain silly. Something about a relief tube versus I don't know, guys. Go relief canopy. Oh, that's funny. Okay. So anyway, sorry. So that's the danger of this show, is I get distracted by what people are saying. So the idea that, like, you were just talking about ushering in the next generation of people, and I've been thinking about this a lot, just with everything that's kind of going on in the world right now, about how aviation is. It's not the most diverse field, at least in the United States, and it's not the most inclusive thing. There's a lot of roadblocks that people face to get involved in it, and that's something that we've talked about, like with Zach in the chat. He was asking about advice on how to get started a couple weeks ago. So I've just been thinking about that, like part of like what our job, it feels like for all of us, and I don't know. This is just what you just said resonated with me. Like part of our job is to welcome the next generation in. Otherwise, there's nothing like if there's no pilots, there are no airplanes. Like all the things that we need and love and want to do are also built on having a community of people to use it. So I just think that's awesome that you want to like take that as part of your mission. I don't know. I don't know if you, reactions to my random long-winded statement.
Yeah.
Are we having connection issues again?
No, that's great. No, you got it right. I think it's really important to share our passions with the next generation. And I don't know about anybody else's experience, but at least my own. I've had a lot of when I first got into aviation. When I was hanging out at the airport, it was generally like an older crowd that I hung out with, which was great, and I valued it a lot, and I learned a lot. But more recently, I've been using Instagram as a really great tool to meet all these young pilots that are maybe, in neighboring cities, but not necessarily my next door neighbors. And it's been really cool to kind of see this new generation that's up and coming and taking an interest in, these airplanes that are virtually sitting in these hangars and not being flown. So it's been really cool to meet a lot of different people. And I hope in some way, if anything, that I just encourage people to get more involved in general aviation. I mean, the airlines are great, but like there's so much value in your like little home airport. And if I could, encourage any, new pilot to do anything, it would be to hope these people are up to. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely like there's so much. I mean, even just the adventure you took, right? Like that adventure is like demonstrating the value of general aviation can have on like on a community. So I think that's super great and super cool. We're almost out of time. Some people, I'm going to just pop through some questions here. Someone was asking, this is a little bit back in our conversation, what the speed of the Pipistrel was. Gabriel was wondering about that. What's the speed of the Pipistrel?
On average, I think it was 125 knots on average.
That's faster than my Cessna by a lot. Well, a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wicked fast. It was good.
Let's see. Scrolling through here, there was one other question that. Here's a question. This came in on Instagram. Sarah Clucky asked this, and I think it's a good one because it relates to. So, I mean, you're in the middle of studying to become an commercial and an instructor, and COVID hit, and obviously all of us are getting hits in our motivation. Sarah Clucky wanted to know what keeps you motivated to keep going, and what keeps you motivated to keep studying when something else comes up.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I think all of us have had moments of, doubt and fear. And I think that the thing that has been most helpful to me through this whole, time is actually you guys. So seeing people, studying away or going flying or working towards, whatever rating, it's kind of fueled the flame for me in a lot of different ways. And just yesterday, actually, the last few days, I was not feeling like I even wanted to pick up a book and study. And I was feeling really guilty about it because that's what happens. You have these goals, and if you're not living up to them, you make yourself feel bad about it. But it was really cool because I just posted to my Instagram about it, and like moments later, I got a few messages from people that really related to what I was going through. And today I woke up and I felt better about, the things that I was feeling, and that gave me motivation today to hit the books. And it was actually the first time I've touched them in 2 weeks. So I think that, the internet's a great source to find motivation. And even at times when you don't necessarily feel like studying, you know, crack open YouTube, because there's so many educational videos out there, and some of them maybe are less educational, but just will feed your passion, and you'll see other people doing these incredible things and you'll want to do them as well. So I would say get your motivation from your closest peers and from those in your community.
So I think that's awesome. And actually, you just teed up the next question from Instagram. Oni76 sent a message, says, no local flying clubs in the near vicinity, but how to find like-minded people to share your passion. So you talked a little bit about this in terms of like how you started to find in the beginning, but I'm just wondering if you'd elaborate a little bit. Like you guys just bought a plane together, right? Like you've got like this like super core group of like aviation people now.
Yeah. It's some of it's just timing and luck, and maybe fate. I'm not sure, but I think that when you open yourself up to and welcome other people into your life, there's so many opportunities that present themselves, and I think it's just having kind of like an open door policy. I feel like a lot of people think aviation is fairly exclusive, when it really doesn't have to be. And by using networking resources like Instagram and Facebook, you can open yourself up to, a network of people that have similar interests to you. And obviously that comes with certain, you got to be careful. I'm not saying go meet strangers on the internet all the time, but there's certain clubs online or in your community that you come across through the use of Facebook, and maybe they're having a gathering. So I would encourage you to put yourself out there, and it's not always the most comfortable feeling showing up somewhere and it's, a bunch of old boys that you've never met that, are just talking about, the good old days, and those people are probably your best resources. So I would encourage you to put yourself out there, get out of your comfort zone, and just start chatting up everybody that loves aviation.
That's awesome advice. All right, so we're a little over time. I'm wondering if we could play a game before we sign off.
Okay, let's try.
All right, let's see if it works. And there's so many other guys. Just before we move on, like I have so many things I wanted to chat with Annie about. Like she's got this amazing. Well, let's just show it because this warms my heart, and then we're gonna play a game. You've got this amazing friend that you fly with. Let me go back. Oh, I have to really skip through all these photos. Bloop, 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 bloop. Technology. You have this guy right here. You're flying with this friend. Like, this is one of your, like, open door policy type things? Like, is this a result of that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so an acquaintance of mine, his granddad lost his medical and had a Piper Tri-Pacer. And he asked me if I'd be interested to fly with him. And this was when I had just finished my private license, and I actually, for a time, didn't think I was going to pursue aviation any further. And I called him up, and it was a super scattered conversation with this 80-year-old man on the phone. And I made my way out to this grass field in the middle of nowhere, and got to meet him. And I got checked out by a friend of his on that airplane, and then we've been flying together for 4 years now. So he's one of my closest friends, and I've learned so much from him, and he's got loads of fun stories that he's shared with me over the years. And it's been so cool because although I've been helping him with flying, he's also been helping me with continuing flying and continuing my passion for flight. So I would highly, again, encourage you to reach out to people and listen, because there's some pretty incredible people in the community that have some great stories.
Yeah, and I think when you first posted that you guys were flying together, I sent you messages like, oh, like my heart grew 3 sizes. Like, I just think it's so cool. And separately, on a nerd level, when I took my check ride, the DPE said that he said the Tri-Pacer is the best airplane that exists. And his reason...
The milk stool.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love it. It's great.
He was like, it's ugly, so you can get one for a good price. It'll carry more and is faster than a Cessna, and it's cooler because it's old.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's class vintage, so you can get into Oshkosh vintages.
Right, so then you can be closer to the whole thing next year. Everyone go buy a and you can take that, you can cut the nose wheel off, move the mains up, and convert it back to a pacer if you want to do the tail wheel.
Yeah.
Thing. All right, guys, let's play a game real quick before we let go. So I did this last week with Josh Flowers. I think it's time for a game I'd like to call Short Final. Is that good? Let me know if you guys like that. I'll make a little graphic next time. And basically with this...
I'm nervous.
No, you don't have to be nervous. I just have a bunch of like yes or no questions that I'm going to hit you up with, or it's like one word answers, like this or this, or yes or no this. And we're going to we've got a minute on the clock. We're just going to crank through the value of the, I don't know what, hey, A320 controller, good to see you. I don't know what you're talking about. We're going to put a minute on the clock. I'm going to put some overly dramatic, oh, I got it. He's saying, guess what? You guys just increased the value of the Tri-Pacer by $20,000 because we're talking about how good they are. All right. So it took me a minute to come with you there. Okay, I'm going to put some overly epic music on. Here we go. Ooh. You can't probably hear it, Annie, but it's very epic.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Ready? Fat tires or skinny tires?
Fat tires.
All right. Tail wheel, nose wheel?
Tail wheel.
All right. All airplanes should be what color?
Red.
I agree. Okay. Favorite airport you've ever landed at?
Old Crow.
Favorite civilian aircraft?
Shit. This is my language. Mall.
Oh, there we go. You know, the cool thing is you get extra time because I forgot to start the timer. So now you still have 50 more seconds. All right. Favorite passenger you've ever flown with?
Gerald.
Worst landing you've ever had? Describe it in one word.
Gust factor. None. None applied.
Love it. All right. Favorite YouTuber?
Ooh, Sonia. Sonia, yeah.
Yeah. Least favorite YouTuber?
I don't have one.
SuperAero.
I don't watch that much YouTube. Sorry.
Okay. Favorite warbird?
Corsair.
Ooh, okay. Well, we still have 10 seconds. The music ended because I didn't hit the thing. Let's see. What else do we have? You love flying because blank.
I love flying because the views are amazing, the people are great, and the cold beer after tastes good.
Whoa. That was epic. I love it. All right. So obviously I got a few gigs to work out on that, but hopefully you guys like that. Don't stall on short final, says Vincent. Yeah, I kind of did with the music and the timer there, but we'll work out the kinks next time. Annie, this has been awesome.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. I also live on a farm, and the internet is generally patchy to begin with, and I don't think the thunderstorms helped. But it was really great catching up with you. We definitely need to catch up again soon because I have basically all the same questions for you that you've asked me today. And we've got to put together the plane karaoke with some... I don't know, musical talent. I don't know if there's some famous pilot that's a singer. I heard Tim McGraw is a pilot.
Whoa,
maybe
there we
could hit him up.
Yeah, I could just nervously fly him around. And well, you're a musician. You play the ukulele and stuff. I've seen.
Yeah, the ukulele is it's a pretty simple instrument.
I mean, I don't know how to play it.
I consider myself a musician.
I've got a trombone over there that I haven't picked up in a few years, so maybe we'll do some sort of wacky
You should
duet.
do it.
Can't play a trombone.
I would love that. That'd be so cool.
I don't think the trombone would fit in the Cessna though. I think I couldn't hit all the positions. All right.
Oh man.
This is awesome. Yes, let's definitely fly together, Annie. I think after doing all these shows, I just need to do like pack up my family in the plane, and I just need to do like a circuit around to all these awesome people I've met, and hopefully I can add you to the list sometime. We can meet.
Absolutely.
And someone says
There's
David
always
Hadfield.
a place for you in Collingwood.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, we'll hang out. Is this who you were telling me about? Dave Hadfield?
Oh, hey Dave, how you doing?
I know Dave's here, but Gabriel says Dave Hadfield is an amazing singer. Is that who you were telling me about once? You were saying like I should get.
No, I think that's somebody else. I can't even remember who I mentioned to you earlier. But yeah, Dave Hadfield is Chris Hadfield's brother. And Chris and Dave, well, they're both very musically inclined. And then Dave put together like an album last year, and he's been touring around with it a bit. But yeah, pretty cool.
All right. We're off topic now. I was just like, oh, maybe there's another Canadian we know. Cool, dude. This has been so great. Annie, I can't wait to see what you do next. Once this pandemic's over and you hit the ground running again with the commercial training, we're all pumped to see it. I personally would sign up like number one to be one of your students. You've definitely like just bring so much joy and so much passion to aviation. And I think, people in here there's so many comments. You should watch this again tomorrow. So many comments. People just talk about how great of an ambassador you are for the sport or the hobby or whatever. So
thank you. That means a lot to me. I appreciate it.
So yeah, so let's get something on the books, guys. Everyone, I gotta stop looking at the chat because it keeps distracting me. Everyone, thanks so much for watching tonight. This has been epic. Thanks for hanging in. Next week we've got another Brian with a Y. We've got Mr. Wolficorn himself. Will be here. I don't even know what we're going to talk about yet. We'll probably talk about, we'll probably just nerd out on being filmmaker people, and you guys you'll be bored. No, it's going to be awesome. Be sure to like, subscribe, all that stuff. If you guys really love what we're doing, don't forget Patreon. I've got the whole patch thing. Some of these are going out this week. And yeah, it's going to be epic. So with that, I'll bid you all adieu. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay safe out there, guys, and we'll see you next week.